Qigong relies on proper body mechanics. Compare it to a heating system through which water flows. There will be a problem if the pipes are bent, if they are clogged up, if they are not properly attached, and so on. So before we start to talk about where the qi is supposed to go, we first have to talk about how to make sure that it can get there in the first place.
In Qigong, we have covered the entire Qigong area, and it's divided into 3 parts. The first part, that's where you begin and where you pick up things. That is the part where you learn, of course, the movements, but where you learn the mechanics of the movements, and where you teach yourself sensitivity in the beginning to the mechanics and not to qi-like things or whatever. We first have to prepare the area where we are working on before we can work with what we are working with. So the mechanics, that's first. Then that's the physical part, the body. After the body comes the qi story. Well, where the qi story is concerned, you can divide it into 2 parts: internal, external, inside of you, outside of you. And the internal part is what you are most interested in when you practice Qigong. Now, there are 2 main streams when you practice Qigong. The first mainstream, the Taoist one, is where you try to connect to the universe and so on. And the second one is where you think of only your little tiny self, which is the present day thinking. I will explain this in a moment. Because what I mean with this is that when you talk about the Chinese view, the traditional Chinese view on energy, on qi, then you talk about the division between heaven, man, earth, which is actually all of the energy. And now the main thing in that 3-part division is heaven and earth, yang, yin, and they interact. And they interact through us. We are yin and yang. And we regulate the interaction between the yin and yang of heaven and earth. So we are more or less like a chimney pipe through which the energy flows. That is the heaven, man, earth view, and that is the view my school chooses to follow. But there is, of course, the modern day view, where we are considered as all as a separate containers of energy. You are you, that person is that person. And for instance, if you go to an acupuncture treatment, then you will be treated according to that vision. And then they talk about the energy inside your body, and it has to, well, be reconnected or opened up, or stagnations have to be removed, and so on and so on. Now, all these words you have heard in my stories as well. But the main difference is that the exercises are the same, but the main difference is that in the first, following the first view, you will try to open up yourself entirely, become a chimney pipe for the energy between heaven and earth. In the second point of view, you still are a chimney pipe. You try to open up, but you put a cap on it. So it works like a steam engine. You put energy in it, and you put energy in it, and eventually you will fill up. But you can have too much, and then you will blow up, and you will get symptoms like that are very similar to the symptoms of people with high blood pressure and so on. So it will work against you. What is the difference? Well, the difference is will, want. If you want things and you want to put energy in it, that is you. That is your mind, and that is a cap on the chimney pipe. If you facilitate what's happening around, you open up, you give way, then you can open up the chimney pipe, and you become the pipe through which the energy of heaven and earth can communicate. which is very strong and will guarantee you a long and healthy life. The disclaimer is that you cannot want things for yourself. When you want to use your energy to want and achieve things for yourself, then you have to follow the other pathway where you close the cap, but it will close automatically just because you want things. The mind tenses up, which is a sign that the cap closes, that the pipe closes. So this is about the energy inside the body. How do you deal with it? Do you open up for the entire universal energy, or do you want to hold it for yourself? Mechanical sensitivity. The essential exercises. Let's go through them. We have done them in the beginning, way back, and we will repeat them right now. So just take a relaxed position. Imagine you are a beginner. You do not know anything about sinking through the legs and so on. So you just bend the knees a little bit so that it feels like if you're sitting on your tail, like a kangaroo. Then you place your hands on an imaginary table in front of you. So you can feel the palms resting on a surface that is not there. Now feel the shoulder joints, and like if there is a cogwheel inside the shoulder, and it rotates forward like so, but the hands have to stay on the surface of the table. So it rotates forward and forward and forward. And then there will come a moment where you feel that if you continue to roll forward, that first you can only go further if the hands leave the table. Well, you keep the fingers on the tabletop, but the palm base can leave. But even then, you will come to an end where you will feel that if this continues to rotate, then it will rotate out of its socket and the shoulders will rise like so, which is not what you want. So relax, fall back, rest the palms on a table. Rotate forward with the shoulder wheel. Palm base can leave the table. And now you stop when you feel that the wheel will leave the shoulder socket. So you stop right at that point. And then you counter rotate. Like so. There. And relax the elbows, whereby the palms fall back on the table. So you rotate the shoulder wheel, sorry, up to its final possibility. Then you rotate it back, like so. This is how you lift the hands without lifting them. Relax the elbows, allow the palms to fall back. Good. So the shoulder wheel, very important that you become aware of what happens in there. Now we are going to connect the top and the bottom. The bottom being the legs, of course. And in Chinese, they talk about the liu he, the 6 combinations. Or in Tai Chi, we talk about the Qi Xing, the 7 stars, which is actually the same thing. 6 refers to the connection where it concerns the body, that is, the connection of the hands with the feet, the elbows with the knees, the shoulders with the hips, making 6 in total. 7 means that you add 1 more, and that is the center line. So, now we just had the exercise where you rotate the shoulder disc forward, and by doing so, the elbow moves. I rotate here, but the elbow moves forward. And now you want to connect top and bottom. So, of course, I mentioned 6, but the main two that we focus on because they are the easiest are the elbows and the knees. They have to work together. That means I'll first show you. You place the palms on the hands, sit on your tail, and you focus on rotating the shoulder disc forward and be aware of the elbows moving in space. Now, if they move, the knee has to move as well. There. At the same time, same movement. If one stops, this is the golden rule. If one of the two stops, the other one stops as well. That is very important in this exercise. So you sit, hands on the tabletop. Then be aware of the shoulder disc rotating forward. The elbows start to move, so the knees move. Palm base can leave the table. If the elbows stop, the knees stop, or if the knees stop, the elbows stop. And of course, maybe the shoulder disc hasn't fully rotated, hasn't completed its full possibility to completely rotate. It doesn't matter. As soon as elbows and knees stop, the disc changes direction, moves back, but then the elbow moves again, so the knees move again. There, and if you think you sit, the knees stop, so the elbows stop, and then you just relax the lower arms towards the palms and allow the hands to fall back on the table. So shoulder disc rotates, elbows and knees cooperate. There, shoulder disc reverses direction, elbows and knees move together. There you go. And relax from the elbows towards the hands and drop the hands on the table. Now, in order to make this 6, if you connect the elbows to the knees, then the shoulders and the hips are automatically connected as well. But what about the hands and feet? Because at the end, we have a, movement. We're not making a movement, but by relaxing, gravity brings our lower arms down till the palms fall on the tabletop. Well, at the same time, you just relax through the legs to the feet. That's not visible, of course, but that connects the hands and the feet as well. Now we have opened up the system, even without you as a beginner, which you are not anymore. But imagine, as a beginner, you're not yet aware of that you are actually opening up the entire body. Now we have to make a squeezing mechanism. And that we do from a wider position. And so you are standing like so, hands on the table. Now you open up the position by leaning on your heels, opening up the feet, duck feet, so to speak. So you have a V shape. Then you put your weight on the front of your feet and make a reverse V shape, like so. Then on the heels again, and rotate the feet forward and just sit on your tail. You don't have to sit too low. Now, the first thing to work with is the muscles. We squeeze, we tense up the muscles, and in this case, we start with the muscles in the foot, not the toes pressing against the floor. I use my hand because that otherwise I have to take off my shoes. You do not grab the floor with your toes, but you tense up the muscles of the foot itself. As a consequence, you will notice that if you tense up the muscles of the foot, the sensation of the tension will move through the ankle joint into the lower leg, and there a tension will rise up from above the ankle towards the knee, and then the knee will move. Let's first practice this with the legs themselves. So I use this leg to start with, and this is of course not visible, but now I'm tensing up the muscles in my foot. Not the toes, only the foot itself. I feel the tension above the ankle moving upward, and the knee tenses as well, and I tilt in this manner. because, and that's a rule in this movement, I do not want to push myself sideways. Now, you can do this. So if you sit more or less and you push yourself sideways, feel the outside of that knee and the outside of that foot. There will come more weight on the outside of that foot, and you want to prevent that. The entire foot has to stay on the floor, and you do not want to push against the side of your knee. Good. So you tense up the foot. The tension rises over the ankle towards the knee. The knee will stretch all by itself without you ordering the leg to stretch, and you tilt, and then you just fall back. Good. Now, we of course have to connect this to what we have just practiced. And what we have just practiced, I am again take the wide position, was the 7 stars, of course. So now we have to connect the knee to the elbow. In this case, one knee, because only one leg will stretch, 2 elbows. So hands on the tabletop. Then I tense up. I start on this side. I tense up the muscles in the foot, the lower leg, and as soon as the knee moves, the elbows move as well, like so. And when I just fall back, the elbows move down so the knee relaxes. There, I relax through the legs, to the feet, to the arms, to the hands. So I tense up the foot, the lower leg, the knee will stretch by itself, and the elbows move in accordance with the knee. There, and back. And relax downward. Change sides. The other foot tenses up, over the ankle to the knee, and when the knee moves, the elbows move. There, and fall back. And relax to palms and soles of the feet. Tense up the foot. The knee moves, so the elbows move. Notice that I do not lift the shoulders. And fall back. And relax. Okay. Now we are not there yet. The exercise is not completed yet. We have to add one sensitivity. Once we are in a tilted position, notice that I do not keep my head like so, but in the length of this line. Now we can imagine this being a pipe resting on a pole. So you have a long pipe resting on a pole, and that's only on a point, not on a flat surface, meaning that the pipe is very difficult to balance on that point in the hip. And it will roll forward. You are already familiar with that, of course. So you just fall. You're not making a movement. You actually allow it by relieving yourself from the tension inside the hip. If you let go, especially when the arms are at the front, mildly stretched, then you will fall that direction. Here we encounter another mechanical rule. If the torso rotates, the upper arm rotates as well. The direction is not relevant. What I mean by that is if the torso rotates, like so, the upper arm rotates as well. This. Again, a matter of shoulder disc connection. So, if you do this properly, and you have no separate movement, for instance, in the lower arm, but this is an open hollow pipe, this is an open hollow pipe, and the shoulder disc is the connection, then if you were to move the arm separately, then you will feel friction at the location of the shoulder disc. And you want to remove that friction. You do that by adjusting the shoulder disc to the rotation of the torso and the upper arm. It's the in-between, like so, like so. If done properly, you will immediately get a warm hand. There and out. So in fact, you could imagine a plate your body is resting on, and that plate is a horizontally placed cogwheel. The shoulder disc is a cogwheel like so, and if one rotates, then the other one rotates at the same time. So now we have to add that to our sensitivity exercise, where you sit in a relatively wide position, not too wide, hands on the table. I start on this side. So you tense up the muscles of the foot, not the toes. Be aware of the tension jumping over your ankle joint into the lower leg towards the knee, and the knee tenses up, thus thereby stretching. And now we get, if the knee moves, the elbows move. There. Then relax the hip joint where you rotate, and if you rotate, the shoulder discs rotate in reverse. And you get that. And then you just allow everything to fall down. Don't think about rules or awareness. Same side. There. So the foot tenses up. The tension moves over the hip joint, the ankle joint towards the knee stretches, so the elbows move. Then you release the hip joint. So there is a rotation as well. There. Now the question might rise, how about the 6 combinations or the 7 stars when you fall back? The point is that actually when I tense up there and then I connect the hip disc to the shoulder disc, the leg actually is not yet fully stretched. That happens with the pull of this rotation. You can experiment with that. So you just tense up the foot, then the knee moves. But as soon as you're tilted, you relax the hip and the leg is not yet fully stretched. It will fully stretch while rotating out. And because you keep the foot flat on the floor, you do not allow the heel to lift. That is your break as well. So you won't rotate any further. So what you get is a full elbow-knee connection on the way up, like foot tension, knee and elbows. The leg not yet fully stretched. So if the hip disc connects to the shoulder disc and they rotate alike, the leg stretches a little bit further, and that is why the elbows still can move in that connection rule. And it will stop as soon as the knee stops. Of course, I can move the arms further, but the leg can't stretch any more than a full stretch. And now, the sinking down of the elbows when I'm falling back is in connection with the knee bending again. There. And then you let go. So you have a full liu he or qi. Good. These are the first exercises of a series of 7 in the book, 8 in class. I want to skip a few because of the time and go to the 8th one that we only practice in class and that is not written about in the book. It's quite a nice exercise actually. You just sit in between a smaller position and the wider position, somewhere comfortable. Myself, I choose for the relatively wide position. You bring one arm up. And now let's first do the movement. And then you try to find the basic ideas yourself about knee and elbow, shoulder disc, and hip disc. And we are painting a yin and yang symbol in front of us on the wall, on an imaginary wall. You start by scooping down. Notice my arm fully rotating, and at the end, I want the palm to be fully directed upward. And I do that with my lower arm. This is an important technical detail. So not with the entire arm, only with the lower arm. Then I start with releasing the tension at the wrist, giving my lower arm a rotation. And that is how the elbow moves up. Shoulder disc, hip disc, over the yin yang to halfway the other height. Then you pass through the center line. Just follow my movement, the bottom line. And now the other way up. Start at the hand and the wrist, over the top, through the half, along the bottom, up. Notice that my shoulder never folds. I'm not moving in the shoulder itself. I'm making one curved pipe from here to the center and then changing the legs that connect. There, the bottom, upward, there. Close your eyes if possible and just relax. Through the half, along the bottom, and over the top. Through a half from the other side. There, scoop. Just continue and let the body find all the connections all by itself. Try to relax as much as possible on the inside. The only actual tension you're feeling, of course, the legs, because your weight is on them. And when you move upward from the scoop, there, you will feel the tension at the wrist area of the muscles. And it will move away again. There, change sides. Move along the bottom. Feel the wrist tense up and relax. There you go. Change sides. Move up. There. Don't move too slow. Don't move too fast. Find your own speed in between thinking taking over, which you do not want, and dreaming away on the other side of the spectrum, which you do not want either. Feel the inside of your body relieving itself from frictions. There. Change hands. Open through the center. This is not a rule. You can change hands as you like, as long as it's fluent and does not distract the mind. Search for the same thing. Now I want to add a joint. It's not described in my books. We only talk about this in class because it needs extensive attention. But that's the back. And especially, more specifically, the soft part of the back. Now I can, of course, bend forward. And if you bend forward, imagine a stick from your tailbone to the back of the head. And then you can feel how you fold forward in the hip joints, underneath the torso. Of course, I can sit a bit, relax, sit on my tail, and only fold forward with the top of my body, like so. I will feel my stomach getting under pressure. And it's literally a depression that you're making on the front. But if you maintain that position, you will start to feel depressed as well. So never do that. But now for practice sake, because we want to be aware of the folding location, which is underneath the rib cage at the height of the diaphragm. So above the sac that holds your intestines, and that's where you can fold. And then you will feel this line, well, you start to become aware of it. So you have the height of the hip joints, you have the height of the diaphragm, and you don't want either of them. But now you have located these two, you can use the soft part of the back, and it's very important that you try to be aware of how you do not fold at a given line location, but that you curve the entire soft part of the back. It won't go that far, but that's not that important. So what you get is that this feels downward. You're sitting on your tail. You straighten yourself out, so you feel, you open the head, sink in the dantian. That's one way of doing that. And then you mildly curve forward. Focus on still feeling how you sit on your seat with your buttocks or on your tail. And you fall forward above that, not too high at the height of the diaphragm. So be aware of that. So you have a mild curve, the soft part of the back, and then you uncurve, straightening yourself out again, like so. The curving at the back, we connect to the connection of the knee and the elbow. The knee at the center of the leg, the elbow at the center of the arm. And the Mingmen location, the gate of life location, which is not an acupuncture, it is an acupuncture point, sorry, but in reality, it's not just that point, it's the entire soft part of the back. So, and that is considered to be at the center of your torso. So center, center, center. That means that, for instance, if you practice the first Qigong, let's first go through the moves, you know them. So you move up. Down. Round. Front. Relax the lower arms and then move open. Wide, open it up. And down and round again. Of course, you are already overly familiar with that movement. Now, the point in the first four Qigong is that you do not use the legs. So how can you achieve a Liu He, a 6 combinations? Well, by using the soft part of the back instead. That means, now we are just talking at a mechanical level about the first Qigong. Of course, you start with the hands on the surface of an imaginary table, but actually you are mildly curved forward. Not too far, don't exaggerate. So you sit on your tail, downward. People that do not know this think you are standing really upright and straight, but actually you are mildly bent forward and you feel a mild stretch over the soft part of the back. So if you unstretch, moving up, that is a rotation of the torso as well. Not like so, but like so. And if the torso rotates, the upper arm rotates. The shoulder disc, and this disc, in this case, a disc here. So what you get is, if you unhinge the soft part of the back, is that this happens there. And if one stops, the other one stops. Then you relax, so you will slightly curve forward again. But if this moves, this has to move as well. There you go. And then you just relax the lower arms. So you're not actually moving the elbows, you're just relaxing the lower arms. At a given point, they will continue to fall down and the arm will rotate like so. And that is where you mildly curve the soft part of the back on purpose, and you uncurve elbows moving up, elbows moving down, curve again. Let go of the lower arms, and then uncurve, torso disc, shoulder disc move alike, and the Mingmen and the elbows move alike as well. And you float out, and you let go. So let's practice the first Qigong with this mechanical level. First build up as you're used to. Sink through the legs. Soften the back, because we really, really need it in a moment. Adjust the spine. Soften the neck. Open the head. Sink in the dantian. Allow the dantian to expand beyond your physical limit. Connect the 6 palms. And open the front. Good. Allow the hands to drop and fall on the tabletop. You are mildly curved forward. Nobody can see that, but you feel it. And the back, soft part of the back that is, connects to the elbows while you breathe in. The elbows connect to the soft part of the back. That continues. So you mildly curve forward. Let go of the lower arms. Elbows move up, soft part of the back unfolds. There. Use gravity, it is your friend. So allow the lower arms to fall without having consequence on the rest of the movement. There. Soft part of the back and elbows alike. One stops, so the other stops as well. Lower arms float out. And there you go again. There. So breathe in, back and elbows. Out, elbows and back. Back and elbows. Elbows and back. I'm exaggerating the movement of the back a little bit so you can see. Elbows and back. Lower arms float out. Elbows and back. Fold together. There. In. Out. In. Out. In. Out. In. Sorry, still out. My mistake. In. Out. Elbows and back. Move together. If one stops, the other stops. If one moves, the other moves. Breathe in. Out. In. Open up. Now we connect the knees as well, knees and elbows, and the back. Connection. Sink in the dantian and search for your hands from the inside out. Let go, open up, overstretch, thumbs inside the fist, and close position. Chest slightly forward, push out the eyes. Good. So that was it. Unfortunately, again, a final word. These exercises, the essential exercises as they are being called in my school, are on a teach you sensitivity on a mechanical level, like I've explained in the beginning. It goes really, really far. If you look at the Tai Chi movements that we have done, elbow and knee move together, knee and elbow move together, and the part of the back is always involved as well. So it is the red line throughout everything we practice. And with that, I'd like to return to what I started with, the division of heaven, man, earth, or if you choose so, to close the gap and your own individual self. Because why are these exercises important? Why is this way to direct the mind important? Well, if you want to have a free circulation of qi, for health reasons, let's start with that, then whether you are trying to open up to heaven, man, earth, or you want to open up yourself on the inside as an individual, actually, the opening up is the important part. And you can, in that manner, imagine your body as a hollow, well, balloon, weirdly shaped, of course, with extensions there, but hollow nonetheless, empty. And you want it to be opened up all the time. It can be opened up a bit less. It can be opened at its fullest, but you want it opened up all the time. You want to have an awareness for that. So you are aware of the negative things of living your life, where you build up a stagnation in the head, in the heart, emotional pain, or physical because of an illness or whatever. And by practicing, not by directing the mind to the illness or to the heart pain or to the overthinking, but just by opening up, you will achieve a long life, whether you live as an individual or connected to heaven, man, earth, as you choose for yourself. That's your own freedom.